Welcome to Now Daily. I'm Robert Crawford. Here's what's happening now. Today's episode, I want to talk about fluoride. It's misunderstood, but something that I think about just about daily. Why? Because they are purposely adding fluoride into the city of Los Angeles water and most major cities within the United States and cities throughout the world. Fluoridation of the water took place actually in concentration camps and in Nazi Germany to basically nullify the inmates. So I want to really wanted to dive into fluoride and see what's going on. Is this something we should be worried about? Is it something that is just a conspiracy theory? What's actually happening? So I did some research. Let's see what I uncovered. I found this on Infowars.com, which is a pretty controversial site. But it says there is poison in the tap water. And from my findings, it seems like this is in fact true. There is poison in our tap water. In fact, even on the ca.gov website, the California government talks about the fluoridation of the public water system. And I would imagine if you checked your state, they're probably doing the same. There are very few states that are not fluoridating water. So you may say, well, maybe there's just fluoride naturally occurring. If you do a little bit more research, it's very rare for fluoride, sodium fluoridation, to naturally occur in water. It just doesn't really naturally occur. It's actually a byproduct of phosphorus fertilizer production, and it's a hazardous material. There's even video that I've seen online of actual ducks where you're in the facility and they have a giant biochemical container of fluoride and then pipes going into the water system. So they are adding fluoride into the water. This website right here says that. It says fluoridation, April 2015 revision to the optimal fluoride level. This was last year. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Agency, HHS, is recommending that water systems practicing fluoridation adjust their fluoride content to 0.7 milligrams or parts per million. As opposed to the previous temperature-dependent optimal levels ranging from 0.7 to 1.2, there is no change regarding federal health officials' strong and long-standing support regarding the value of fluoridation of the drinking water. So basically, the federal government has finally lowered the legal limit from 1.2 milligrams, 1.2 parts per meter, or 1.2 milligrams per liter, and they've lowered it to 0.7. The problem is that's still way too high. So they're adding about 0.7 milligrams per liter, or about 0.7 parts per million, to the Los Angeles water supply. Now, you may say, what are they doing to our bottled water? And this guy on YouTube, Dabu7, you may not have heard of him. You can click on this link below. Actually took a fluoride tester, and you can go buy one yourself. And he tested all the water out. And the fluoride levels in the water vary. Some of them were zero, like distilled smart water. Some of them were pretty high, and almost as much as tap water. So we do know that tap water definitely has it. I've gone so far now as to stop drinking tap water as much as possible. Fluoride even goes through the skin, so even in your shower it can affect you. So now you're saying, okay, they are putting fluoride into the water. We've proven that fact. They admit it on the government website. And there's websites for DWP and all these other things that admit that that's happening. So now let's ask ourselves, what is the effect of fluoride? Well, a Huffington Post article says a Harvard study confirms fluoride reduces children's IQs. The recently published Harvard University meta-analysis funded by the National Institute of Health has concluded that children who live in areas with highly fluoridated water have significantly lower IQs than those who live in low fluoride areas. In a 32-page report, they go through the details of this. If you want to read the details, they're down below. So Harvard says absolutely it lowers the IQs of children. Well, what else does it do? Well, here you can go on Harvard where they talk about it themselves. What are some of the other facts of fluoride? Well, here's an interesting scientific analysis done. This was actually testing on gerbils. And this states that in this study, I attempted to discover whether fluoride, F, has pathophysiological effects in the pineal gland. A feasible proposition if fluoride accumulates in the pineal and can thereby influence its physiology. The pineal gland, or seat of the soul as it is called, is situated near the center of the brain. So she's testing on whether or not fluoride accumulates in our pineal gland. If you haven't done any research on the pineal gland, or there's even some documentaries on Netflix about it, the pineal gland, they claim, is what is throughout historical texts. It's found in the pyramid. They claim it's this pine cone shape. It's the all-seeing eye. That is the pineal gland. People say that it is the connection to the spirit realm, to reading other dimensional vibration frequencies and translating them in your brain. And the fluoride calcifies that. Why? Because it's a high calcium organ. So fluoride actually attaches to calcium, which is why there's more studies on fluoride that talk about how it causes bone cancer. It's been linked to bone cancer. It's been linked to lowering IQs. It's been linked to our pineal gland. And I really think the pineal gland is the main reason that they're fluoridating this water. I really think that there's something with the pineal gland that we have not uncovered in the mainstream media, right? That people aren't aware about. Online, you can research about it, and I found it fascinating. Why? Because the pineal gland produces a molecule called DMT, dimethyltryptamine. I think that's it, dimethyltryptamine. DMT is basically a drug that's naturally occurring in the pineal gland, but you can take it in a form of ayahuasca, or you can smoke. Some people can smoke it as a drug, and they say it gives them this out-of-body experience, this otherworldly spiritual experience. So if our brains are naturally producing it in the pineal, there could be something to that spiritual gland that the powers that be do not want us knowing. They want to shut it down through the fluoridation, right? We already know that they're adding fluoride to the water. It's not naturally occurring. They admit it on their website. Then they claim that they're adding it to the water to help protect your teeth. Well, I'm not going to go into it right now, but you can see studies, and there are plenty of them, that prove that ingesting fluoride has no benefit to your teeth at all. Possibly some benefit in toothpaste, or if you're just putting it on the teeth, but by ingesting it, it has no benefit to the teeth. So let's pay attention to your fluoride levels. You can look at this video. There's a link below to see what water you're drinking, how much fluoride's in it, and I highly recommend you buy a filter. Not many of the filters out there can filter fluoride. It's a smaller atom molecule. But there are some filters that will filter out the fluoride, or you can buy a distilled water or some source that is very low in fluoride. If your city is putting it in your tap water, you need to be aware of it, and you need to try to drink as much or as little fluoride as possible. So this has been an interesting discussion. Comment below if you know anything else about fluoride. This is Now Daily. I'm Robert Crawford. Have a great night.
Thanks for listening. This has been Now Daily with Robert Crawford, uncovering real stories worth sharing. Want more? Visit the website nowdaily.com/show.